Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what's coming in the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I'm your host, Tanya Shrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's managing editor, Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome! How are you doing this week?
I am okay, Tanya, and I want you to know that it is official. I'm not going to say pumpkin spice latte because I know you don't do that.
No,
But we are past Labor Day, so it is frou-free hot coffee drinks season.
absolutely.
Frou-free hot coffee drinks.
And don't get me wrong, I love pumpkin. I just don't need it in my cup.
Listen, whatever your choice is, we're a very accepting environment over here at the Journal, but it is time to go get yourself a hot coffee with a bunch of stuff in it. I'm sorry, if you're a black coffee drinker, you now have to choke down something with, like, I don't know, maple syrup in it. You'll be all right. Just do one, get it over with, and start the season with us.
I definitely wish I could say I was tough enough to be a black coffee drinker, but I am just not that tough.
Yeah,
Give
I'm
me the
not there.
mocha all day.
Yeah. Although, you know what? Quick shout out. Yesterday, Linda Stansberry took me for an ice cream cone because that's what grown ladies do. And I went to Living the Dream and had a molasses ice cream cone.
Ooh, and how was that?
I think it's the new fall celebration.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Perfect for Humboldt fall because it's like it's still warm enough to be summer, but you want to get autumnal. Blackstrap molasses ice cream. Boom.
Mm. And adds a little bit of iron to your diet, That's
That it
molasses
does.
for you. Well, we have a broad range of topics this week. And first, you're going to discuss the story that's been brought to this week's cover by Kim Weir.
Yes, and I would like to thank both Kim and Aoife Maloney. Aoife Maloney is the photographer who went out to the Humboldt County Animal Shelter in McKinleyville and took the amazing cover photo that is our shameless attempt to get animal lovers to pick up this issue and read the stories inside, which is very important. We're talking about the grand jury report, and I'll talk about why that's important. But she went down there, she took a bunch of photos, and do we have an accompanying slideshow with this story that is full of adorable adoptables? Yes, we do. Cats, dogs, very cute. Treat yourself, scroll through. I defy you not to take home a pet. But the grand jury report, every year that this comes out and we try and do a rundown of it for the people because in some ways it's the perfect thing. It's the perfect news story because I know what it's like. We are all overwhelmed with news, especially now that everything's on fire. But in the overwhelm, if only somebody would kind of break down all the major issues in Humboldt County, what are the biggest concerns that we face, study them, and then offer solutions, real practical changes that we could make to make life in Humboldt County better. If only oh wait, the grand jury did it. So what the grand jury is 19 volunteer citizens who get together and study. They basically go to school on all this stuff. They interview people. They have subpoenas. They spend months and months talking to people, summoning people to answer questions about their workplace, about their work, etc. And they find out how things are going at the county jail, how things are going at the courthouse, how things are going at the animal shelter, for example. And they come up with what they think are the major issues to be addressed and how they need to be addressed. And okay, that's a lot of work that they've done for us. That's fantastic. But if only somebody would take this massive report and cut it down to bite-sized pieces for me to understand. And that is where the delightful Kim Ware comes in. She has broken it down into, we've taken some of the topics, and some are online for you to read as well. But we've taken some of the topics and broken them down for you to understand what's going on in Humboldt in this cover story. And you can now go forth and hold forth on all of these topics now that you've read it. We start with, fair enough, we start with the Public Defender's Office. So you have the right.
That one was rough.
Yes. You have the right to an attorney, right? Just before they put you in the car. You have the right to an attorney. How's your attorney doing? If you can't provide one for yourself, one will be provided for you. How is that attorney doing? Apparently, it's tough out there for a defense attorney, a public defender. So, for one thing, the district attorney's office has a budget that exceeds the funding of the public defender's office by $3.5 million, or 36%. That's just the budget. That's just the cash. And then when it comes to staffing, they're understaffed, they're overworked. And we've heard this before, but I got to tell you, the numbers are pretty stark. In here, it says that in addition to the funding issue, support staff are paid, quote, at least 25% less, end quote, than their DA's office counterparts. While attorneys in all three offices are compensated at some of the lowest levels in the state, even against similarly sized counties, according to the report. This is not maybe a place, right, an office in which you would be, as top of your class, want to come and really pay your dues, and it's hard to attract more people. So we have this staff that is overwhelmed with work. At one point, the report also says that each attorney is performing the equivalent of the work of 2.5 attorneys. And those of us who've worked in offices that have been downsized, and they're like, oh, Todd's work will just go over to you. You know what that's like. Now imagine that that work is the work of defending someone against charges of a crime that could send them to prison. Suddenly, the overwhelm is more than just something you go out for drinks and complain about. This is now affecting the public, affecting people's lives and futures. And yet, amid all of this,
and then there's more.
And then there's more. Let's say that you're doing this job. Now you're doing the job of 2.5 attorneys for way less than your counterparts and less than your colleagues in other part of the state. At least your office is safe. Or is it? Because apparently there's a lot of stress and burnout that happens, and sometimes secondary traumatic stress. Some of it has to do with the workplace being accessible to everybody and their mother, and not always in a positive way. Accessible is good. Too accessible, bad. At one point, the report states the lack of physical barriers to provide protection from volatile and violent clients adds to staff stress. It's bad. It's bad. And yet, despite all of this, I found it interesting that the report also says the one and only advantage the public defender's office has is its quality, highly skilled, and dedicated staff. Somehow, with these conditions, we still have some really strong people in this office. And they say, pitted against a Goliath, these Davids are winning battles.
I mean, and even the Journal reported on how important the public defender's office can be in writing situations where people were, falsely accused and falsely imprisoned.
Yeah, it comes up over and over again. And that right to a defense, right? The right to have, even if you can't afford it, having someone on your behalf advocating for you in a courtroom, that is essential to our rights as Americans. And yet, is it really being upheld if these are the conditions under which those defenders work? So it's a big problem, and the grand jury has made a lot of recommendations. A lot of them have to do with salary, workplace improvements. Something that I thought was interesting, the things you'd expect, more hiring, etc., but also approving a policy to permit emotional support dogs in the office until the county makes proactive counseling to prevent burnout and other stress relief available.
I love that.
I do too.
And of course, it ties into the second recommendations of why that might take a while to occur.
Yeah.
The
And
other very underfunded part of the county.
yeah, I think if you asked anybody about what are some of Humboldt County's biggest challenges, one of them is the backup in the courts. Another one, mental health, folks. And the grand jury report talks about the Semper Virens facility. The Semper Virens Psychiatric Health Facility is a full name. And at one point, they point out that it is, again, another case of staffing issues, building conditions. I did not realize that building is 120 years old.
When I lived here 20 years ago, I had a friend that worked there, and that building was in disrepair then. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and apparently the Department of Health and Human Services has a grant to build a new facility. It's $45.3 million, but that's not going to be completed until, fingers crossed, 2030. So we got some time here where some folks are working under some really critically understaffed and difficult conditions. Among the things that they said, medical staff is often under severe strain due to the hospital being understaffed with several unfilled positions, including the key one of a behavioral health medical director for more than a year. Not being able to staff a position, again, I think a lot of us in this economy, honey, a lot of us have worked in offices where there's someone missing who hasn't been replaced and might never be replaced. And it can be really tough when you're dealing with taking care of mental health and taking care of patients who need care. There's no room. There's no room for this kind of absence. Part of the trouble hiring might have to do with the low pay scale and lack of housing. Those were two things that were pointed out as recruitment obstacles. And yet again, they point out some good things about Semper Virens, including, as they put it, strong focus on the well-being and recovery of patients. And so fingers crossed, some of these things are improved, and hopefully soon. The crisis unit is apparently unusable when it rains. More roofing problems. So these are things that are, you can imagine, trying to run a facility, trying to deal with the really overwhelming mental health crisis in Humboldt County in these conditions. I don't envy them, and my fingers are crossed for a speedy rebuilding of building of a new facility.
Absolutely. And the community obviously deserves it and hopefully supports that effort. We have another roof that's in need of repair, but the overall story is a lot more uplifting.
That's true, and that is the Humboldt County Animal Shelter. See, we weren't decoying you. There really are pets in this story. We're decoying a little bit. It's a very cute dog on the cover. So, is it called a partnership? It is. I'm sorry. But it was right there. The grand jury report talks about not only the fantastic job that the staff are doing taking care of animals at the Humboldt County Animal Shelter in McKinleyville. Not only they note they provide walks, enrichment, training for the animals, they also have really done well with animals that would have been deemed unadoptable. They have the lowest numbers of animals deemed adoptable. I think it's, what did she say, that it's the animal rescue network that often reaches other counties and states works to lessen the number of deemed unadoptable animals. They've done a good job with that. And they have a low rate of euthanasia, even though the number of homeless animals is increasing and really pushing the limits of what the shelter can do. But they got a leaky roof, man. And it's been really tough for them to keep doing what they do. As you know, people who work with animals in the veterinary field and in animal care and in shelters, I think we all know that it's a calling and they're doing incredible work. They mention that collaboration between the animal shelter and the animal rescue network means more animals are saved. It means better community education, spay and neuter your pets and strays.
Please.
Better care and more resources for animals. Those are all really, really big deals. And the roof and the lighting, though, need to get fixed yesterday. So if you are, I don't know, are you out there with roofing supplies you need to get rid of, contact the animal shelter. Kim also goes through the sections on some emergency access challenges that are around the county. By that we mean, like, what if you had to bail out of your neighborhood? Is it going to bottleneck? Is it going to be a place you can leave safely and in an orderly fashion? Those are all things, as well as talking about stuff happening at the airport. As you may know, we had some big turnover in the airport, the Department of Aviation in Humboldt County, and there's also some stuff about the Eel River State Prison Camp. There's a lot to read about online. You can go and read the rest of the grand jury report, which is absolutely worth your time because it's an unbiased report from people who really took the time.
Yes, and these people volunteer. It's a tremendous undertaking.
Yeah, I honestly look forward to retiring and volunteering for this just so I can subpoena people.
I could see that you would enjoy that, Jennifer.
Doesn't that sound good? Sending out a subpoena feels good.
Well, and speaking of 16-hour days and a wonderful doing what you love, we have your story this week that brings us the Yang family.
The Yang family. Okay. For everybody who asks me on the street, at events, in emails, what's going on with the Korean barbecue place that was supposed to be in Arcata? I will tell you. The Yang family was on that. Alexander Yang and his mother, who goes by Wendy Yang, were working on that. Permitting was difficult. You can imagine how hard it is to get permitting for when you are going to be cooking with a hot burner on a tabletop, the ventilation required, etc. There's a lot to be done. So yes, while the tables are in there, they are not installed, and that restaurant is not happening anytime soon. I am so sorry. No one is more sorry than I am, except maybe the Yangs, who really, really wanted to get that going. They are talking now about buying and renovating that building altogether, so that project is kind of on hold. So, in the meantime, they have purchased Curry Leaf. You may recall Curry Leaf is sort of a pan-Asian spot that Joe Tan of Rooftop and Kokoro Ramen had opened up over in Eureka in the former Gonsi. That's right. If you had a work farewell for a coworker who was leaving the company, that's where you went to go and have a big Chinese lunch. And now it is a Thai spot. It is still called Curry Leaf, but they are focusing on a Thai menu. And what I loved about interviewing them is that they are mother and son, and they lived apart for about 15 years, but now they are back together and they are in the kitchen. Occasionally, not agreeing with how you should cook. And I was like, that is the realest thing in the
That's
world.
I thought was precious. He has that more like I went and studied, I'm book smart. She's got the mom's been cooking her whole life, she knows what's up. And
Yeah,
I think we need a reality show.
it's kind right. I would watch this all day long. I would be glued to this. But they have these two different styles. One is he's got his mise en place set up. He's learned all these techniques. And she is just going on knowing what the taste should be from so they're a Hmong family. And she lived in Laos and immigrated to the United States. But she also lived in Thailand for 10 years. And she loves Thai food. They both do. She goes back to Thailand all the time. And she really needs it to be that traditional Thai flavor that you find in a traditional Thai restaurant. Not some newfangled place that opened up in Bangkok. She wants the old school Thai flavor. And I must tell you that when you have something as simple as pad Thai, you know how pad Thai can sometimes be, I'm so sorry, a bit of a throwaway. Because if you go to a place that just kind of makes it sweet and they're these sort of like limp noodles,
It's just all noodle and
yeah,
no
it's kind of
sizzle.
sad.
Yeah.
But the pad Thai at Curry Leaf that the Yangs make has that tartness from the tamarind. It has the sweetness, has a little bit of heat, has that saltiness, has the little bit of the wok hei, the burn from the wok. And the noodles are springy, bouncy. It's delightful. Even the egg is just like perfect fried egg in there. I am done with the sad little dry yellow piece of egg in my pad thai. But it's delightful and the shrimp are just plump and perfect. The same thing with the pad see ew. It's that wonderful char soy sauce taste, and the flavors are really big. The chilies, the lime, the mint, all of that, the lemongrass and the galangal, it's all big flavor, not just hidden in sweetness, not just kind of, the edges aren't rounded on it. And they're making their own sauces, they're making all their own stuff so that it doesn't taste like every other Thai restaurant in driving distance where you're having the same expected dishes. This is what you order when you get Thai takeout. It's really fresh, really bright, and really strong, and I really enjoyed it. They are delightful. Looking at them, if you look at their picture in the paper, you can 100% pick them out as mother and son from a mile away, which I love. And there is so much affection between them and so much admiration. And she was saying, like, he really works hard. I give him credit for that. And I was like, oh, did an Asian mom just say she was proud of her son? I was like, I'm going to call my mom. Maybe this is a thing they do now.
And her other son, his brothers also joined the kitchen.
That's right. His brother Arthur is working there too, and Aunt Lily, who is not their aunt by blood, but as she put it, my sister from a different mother. Lily, you may know from Lily's Thai Kitchen in Willow Creek, which is now under new ownership, but she started it with Alexander's help. And I remember now that I think I saw on Alexander's Facebook page when that restaurant first opened up in Willow Creek, and he was doing that phone scan around the table of all the food they had put out at their opening party, and there's like just piles of noodles, piles of spring rolls, and then half a bottle of Henny on the table. It was a whole party. I was very sorry to miss it. I was like, man, I wish I was there. But they're all in there, and it's just a wonderful family owned restaurant you should definitely check out.
Now they're all back together at Curry Leaf, so
That's
everybody
right.
needs to go check it out. You had me at Tamarind, of course. So that is our time for this week. Jennifer, thank you so much. I encourage everybody to pick up the journal and read it cover to cover. The current edition of the North Coast Journal will be available on newsstands tomorrow. pick up that copy, or of course you can find it digitally at northcoastjournal.com. My name is Tanya Schrum. Thanks for being with us, staying informed and supportive here on our North Coast.